Hello everybody, I am Tom and you are watching me play Destiny 2, or more specifically, you're watching me rant about Destiny 2. So, let's talk about Transmog. First up, I'll go over what it actually is, for those unaware of the concept. You're taking one item and making it cosmetically look like another one. In the case of Destiny, this is for armor. Armor has stats associated with it, and the chances are, if you're using your best armor for the statistics, you will look like some kind of Lovecraftian amalgamation of clashing colors, textures, and if you're a Titan, clashing pauldrons. Destiny also has a system to combat this in the form of ornaments. It already exists. You can take an alternate cosmetic and you can slap it onto your ugly armor to make it look better, or at least make it sort of more matched. So, how Transmog will differ from this is it allows you to take a piece of armor that you have previously collected and turn it into a universal ornament. So you can take a piece of armor that you like the look of and turn it into an ornament and apply it to other pieces of armor that you have. Now on the surface, this is a great move. People have been asking for this for a very long time, pretty much since Destiny 1 first came out, and its addition is a resounding boon. However, Bungie decided to implement this in possibly the most ham-fisted way imaginable. So before I start ranting more off the cuff, let's go over exactly what Transmog is, how it works, and how it's going to work going forward in Destiny 2. I will just read verbatim from the TWAB this week. Since the launch of Destiny 2, we've seen requests for a transmog system. After some development time, buckets of sweat, and a few happy tears, we're happy to introduce armor synthesis to Destiny 2. Ada 1 will be returning to the tower to help Guardians customize their appearance in a brand new way. Today we'll be explaining how this feature will work, and how you can work your way toward your favourite looks. Quick note, many of the following screenshots were from test builds, so that some things may look slightly different when released. Before we get too deep, here's a quick list of steps that players will take to convert their armor appearance into universal armor ornaments. 1. Defeat enemies to earn Synthestrand. 2. Spend Synthestrand on bounties and earn Synthecord. 3. Convert Synthecord at the loom in the tower into Syntheweave. And 4. Use Syntheweave to convert an unlocked armor appearance, legendary quality or lower, from collections into a universal ornament. To start, players will begin earning Synthestrand when defeating enemies in Destiny 2. After earning 150 Synthestrand, players may visit Ada 1 in the tower and acquire class-specific bounties, which will reward Synthecord. When developing this feature, an early goal was to ensure players could earn Synthweave through numerous activities in Destiny 2. That way, players who spend most of their time in the Crucible could continue to do so and still engage with armor synthesis. There will be 5 categories of armor synthesis bounties: Vanguard, Crucible, Gambit, Destinations, or Raids and Dungeons. Here are a few examples of bounties that you will see. From the Vanguard list, we have complete playlist strikes using specific subclasses, or accumulate points in the Nightfall strikes. In Crucible, capture zones in Control, or complete Crucible matches and defeat opponents using specific weapon types as a team. In Gambit, you send and defend blockers in Gambit, defeat primeval envoys, high-value targets, and primevals in Gambit. Destinations, defeat nightmares on any destination or in nightmare hunts. Defeat bosses while defending the blind well within the Dreaming City. And for Raids and Dungeons, complete the final encounter of any raid or dungeon, or just generate orbs of power in raids or dungeons. If you ping up the wrong bounty, some of the Synthestrands will be refunded if you choose to abandon it, but not the full amount, so think carefully before abandoning. How many of these can you earn? Players may earn up to 10 Synthweave per class per season, except the Season of Redacted, which I am assuming, kind of interjecting here, I assume that's next season, when it actually is introduced. To celebrate the introduction of armor synthesis in Season of Redacted, players may earn 10 additional Synthweave per class through the introductory experience. In total, during Season of Redacted, players may earn up to 20 Synthweave per class, which can either be used to convert 4 full sets of ornaments, or 20 specific items. As a quick example of for the hunters out there, this could mean you unlock 4 armor pieces plus 16 individual cloaks to swap between depending on your mood. Please note some exceptions apply. Universal ornaments may only be applied to legendary armor pieces. Exotic armor pieces cannot take the appearance of alternate armor, as we want to maintain their appearance for players to quickly identify and understand what exotic perks the players may have in all activities. There will also be a few exceptions at launch for Year 1 armor ornaments due to technical constraints, but we are currently working on solutions for future seasons. These exceptions include Year 1 armor ornaments for Vanguard, Crucible, Iron Banner, faction rallies, prestige raids, and Trials of the Nine. Ornaments can still be applied if the base armor piece is from an activity that the ornament originates. For example, if a player owns Crucible ornaments from Curse of Osiris, they may apply the Crucible armor pieces at no cost. However, these ornaments cannot be applied to seasonal armor. Additionally, all base armor appearances from 2018 and 2019 Solstice of Heroes events will be available for armor synthesis. However, due to an issue where 2018 and 2019 glows cannot be socketed alongside armor appearances in the new Guardian appearance system, the glows will not be supported, which make those armors pretty much pointless to synthesize. Solstice 2020 armor glows were developed with the Guardian appearance system in mind, and players will retain the white glow if it was earned during the event. Subclass-based glows will continue to function on their universal ornaments as well. On to Eververse. Eververse will also offer synthwave templates for direct purchase through the Guardian appearance screen. Players may either purchase a single synthweave or may purchase a 5-piece bundle. So for 1 synthweave it is 300 silver, for 5 it is 1000. For reference, Universal Armor Ornaments bundles cost 1500 silver currently. To avoid mistaken purchases, synthweave templates for Eververse can be applied to any class. And finally, let's talk shaders. Though the Guardian appearance screen, you took an opportunity to improve the shader experience. Currently, shaders are one-time use consumables that may be purchased from collections for Glimmer or Legendary Shards, usually both. Starting next season, all unlocked shaders will be visible on the Guardian appearance screen when hovering over the shader bucket. Players may apply shaders for 500 Glimmer per armor piece. Additionally, we've added the often requested Apply All button for shaders, which will cost 2500 Glimmer total. This is the same Glimmer cost as purchasing shaders right now, but we've done away with the Legendary Shard requirement. Shaders will continue to be earned through various activities in Destiny 2, or can be purchased using Bright Dust or Silver from Eververse. With the update to shaders, we'll be increasing their cost from 40 Bright Dust to 300 Bright Dust. This will continue to be a one-time purchase and will appear in the Guardian appearance menu when unlocked. In celebration of Armor Synthesis, a Year 1 Eververse shader bundle will also be available in the Eververse for Glimmer, no silver required. And there you have it, we're excited for the addition of Armor Synthesis starting in its few short weeks. Okay, so this is how Bungie themselves have described Transmog, or Armor Synthesis as they're calling it. I'll try to go through my points and problems in a similar order to how the TWAB was outlined, starting out with the actual process of transmogrification of armor pieces into ornaments. On paper this seems pretty grindy, and unnecessarily so. Now, obviously, without actually going through this process and playing it myself, it's hard to know if this actually is going to be as tedious as it seems. But considering the fact that there are 3 different fucking materials to get 1 armor ornament, it seems pretty damn likely that it's going to be grindy as hell. I get that having a new currency for doing this is probably an inevitability, but 3 new currencies? I mean, looking at this step-by-step list, you can remove any one of these steps and it still flows perfectly. So getting rid of step 1 means you can just buy a bounty straight off Ada for, I don't know, maybe Glimmer and or Legendary Charge. You know, the currencies that we already have in the game that most players have way too many of anyway. You could chop out step 2 as well, and if you did that, you could just have the enemy drops convert directly into Synthweave, and then you could unlock the ornament, so you didn't even need the bounty system. Or, you could knock out step 3, because why the fuck is Synthweave needed if Synthcord exists? It's just an additional step for no real reason. Unless, of course, as the name suggests, Synthweave is created by multiple Synthcords. I.e., back to my original point, this system seems really fucking grindy. Now, it is worth pointing out that having a grindy system isn't inherently bad. The game is a looter shooter. The grind is to be expected. But unless the player feels like their time's being respected in a grind, it's too tedious and is just plain bad for the game. Moving on to the bounties and how they're to be completed, this I don't have a problem with. Quite the opposite, in fact. I think the way that they're describing it is pretty good. Being able to do pretty much anything in the game to earn this new currency is a good move. And it's worth noting that even dungeons are linked into this. Like, all of the dungeons in Destiny are really, really fun. And as far as I can remember, this is the first time they've had actual bounties that can be completed by doing the dungeon. This is a great move, and I hope this continues going forward. Like, it's a good trend, because the dungeons are great, and we need more reasons to go and do them every week. Okay, here is probably my biggest problem with this entire system. It's the cap. It's how many times you can do it per season. A cap of 10 armor pieces per character, with double for the first season this goes live for 20. This is ridiculous. And honestly, I think, without going, like, If they didn't have this, I wouldn't be anywhere near as harsh on the rest of the system. The rest of the system is bad because there's a cap. I think if you eliminate the cap, the rest of the system would be tolerable, if not good. I think to properly get into why I hate this so much, we need to get into a slightly wider discussion of how Destiny is monetized. Destiny often touts itself as a free-to-play game, but honestly, I feel like this is at best a misnomer, and at worst, just a straight-out lie. Yes, it's possible to play Destiny 2 without buying anything, but a majority of the content is walled off unless you fork over about $80 a year. Now, after saying this, my point here is going to sound somewhat contradictory, but the problem that Destiny has is that it doesn't do enough to differentiate its free players from its paid players. And for the record here, I'm not saying that content should be taken off free players. The only exception here is maybe trials, and the only reason I make an argument for that is because it's just a good natural anti-cheat. If you get kicked off trials and they ban your account, having to buy another account to get back into trials is going to get rid of a lot of cheaters. Just saying. But what I'm saying is, Bungie treats its paid customers as if they're free to play in a lot of ways. The way Eververse is set out right now would be absolutely fine for a true free-to-play game. I would say it would be more than fine, actually. I'd say it's probably good. I think the economy for Bright Dust and Silver is pretty much perfectly balanced for a free-to-play game. But Destiny isn't really free-to-play. The existence of a cap on a system like this exists for only one reason. There's one reason only. It pushes people to buy the resource with the microtransactions. Which, in a free-to-play game, sure, that makes sense. You need to monetize somehow, and artificially time-gating things is my preferred method of doing it, if you're going to do it at all. But for the players that have already paid for Destiny 2, hell, at this point, overpaid really, considering that with the content vault and the sunsetting fiasco, the game is smaller now and has less content than when I originally bought it 2 years ago. But for players that pay Bungie $80 to $100 a year, this cap is just... it's like a slap in the face. So why would you cap this with people who are paying for your game? Just allow us to have put a cap on free-to-play players. Fine. That makes sense, because they're not paying for the game. But if you, it's insane to me. I'm paying it costs me just over 100 Australian dollars a year for Destiny, pretty much, because I buy all of the expansions and shit. I'm paying $100 a year, and you're not going to give me... RANT. I'm annoyed. And the worst part about this is, I'm nearly 100% sure that this cap will be lifted. After a season or two, of course, when all the people who are likely to buy extra from Eververse have already bought all they need. They'll have their entire collection of armor as ornaments. And after they've spent all of this real money on silver, then they'll go, oh, we'll get rid of it. At which point, they'll reverse it, and for some reason the whole community will celebrate how good they are for listening, despite the fact that it was their fuck-up in the first place. I'll admit I was a bit like this with sunsetting. They got rid of sunsetting and I was like, hey, awesome. Awesome work, Bungie. You're getting rid of that shit system. As if I'd somehow forgotten the fact that it was also Bungie that invented the same shit system. To analogize here, it'd be like you pay a builder to build you a porch at the side of your house. He does a shitty job. You take him to arbitration and he's ordered to fix it. He does so and then asks for you to pay for it again. He's like, well, I did twice the work. Yeah, you did twice the work, because you were incompetent. Not really my problem. I'm not going to be overjoyed that you fixed what you fucked up in the first place. And the real problem is, this attitude seems to be what Bungie's attitude is for a lot of their decisions. The content vault, for instance. The argument here was that the game is getting too big and they had code redundancies. And we need to streamline our workload. That's nice and all, but how exactly is that the problem with the players, that you have trouble working on your own game? Because of how the gameplay concepts and things you kind of whack on or discard willy-nilly, and you don't care about the ramifications that has on the rest of the systems in your game. That's a you problem, not a player problem. The Desert Bungie seem to like describing their game as an MMO, but which MMO in recent history, or even distant history for that matter, has removed over half their game because, well, it's kind of hard to maintain? It just doesn't happen. Alright, I kind of wanted a tangent there, but hey, it's a rant video, that's kind of the point. Alright, to finish this up, because at this point I feel like this is going on too long for a rant video, it's pretty ridiculous. But I'm just going to go kind of quick fire through the last couple of points. First up, there's some exceptions for Transmog. Exotics can't be altered. This makes sense. It's a good idea. They need to be identifiable off the mark as far as I can tell. Additionally, there's also some legendary armor sets that Bungie is having problems with, particularly year 1 armor sets. Fine, I guess. Hopefully they can fix it going forward. Again, this is kind of thing where, like, it's a problem because they have mismatching systems for the same thing in their game, which seems ludicrous to me. Why? Again, it's a Bungie problem that is turning into a player problem, but again, we'll ignore that for now. And next up, we have the fact that you can buy Synthweave straight from Eververse. I touched on this earlier. I don't have a problem with this inherently. The pricing actually seems pretty fine to me as well. It's about 1,000 for, like, a full armor set. That's fine. The problem is with the indirect consequences of this, i.e. the cap. Like, the fact that the cap is there is really bad because you can buy from Eververse, right? Like, that's the only reason the cap exists, and the cap shouldn't exist. Also, the grind seems to be artificially jacked up because of Eververse. Like, if Eververse didn't exist, I feel like the grind would be nowhere near as bad. Again, we'll have to wait and see on the grind, because maybe it's nowhere near as grindy as I'm envisioning, but I doubt it. And lastly, the shader problem. Making shaders universal unlocks is the right move, so that making it so that all of the shaders that you own, you can just apply straight from the menu, and you don't have to do a bunch of, like, going and buying the shaders and then applying them. That streamlines things, that's good. But, much like with Transmog, on paper, it's nice. But unfortunately, just like with Transmog, Bungo bungled it. They decided to jack up the price of shaders by 750%. They were 40 Bright Dust, or are 40 Bright Dust, they're going up to 300. They seem to think that a few legendary shards are worth 260 Bright Dust. For the record, they are not. This is a stupid markup, and likewise with the cap, it should just be reversed as far as I'm concerned. But I think that's it. Bungie, do better. And with that, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Like, subscribe, all that kind of jazz. I'm out. See you guys.